This man is not a hero, he's a criminal. Shut up!
Hello, sirs and madams. It's your buddy Admiral Teague. How you doing out there? With me is my pal Resolute Germ. Resolute, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. How you doing, Teague?
I'm excited. Backstage right now, in the Heisenberg buffer of our transporter, we have a guest that you've heard about here on this channel a couple of times. He has been quoted by a couple of other channels that do numbers that we could only wish to touch here, like JDA Talks as a source, and he does have a pretty darn high batting average. And oh, hey, Ruby Hoove, thank you so much for your very generous membership. Thank you for gifting a membership to our channel, and that goes to Jeff Wyatt. Jeff, hey, it's been a while. Good to see you, sir. You're a free member of the channel. Welcome aboard, Jeff. Listen, you guys have heard about this guy from JDA Talks. You've heard him talked about by even, I believe, Andre from Midnight's Edge has cited him. He has the Trek opinions. He's got the Trek info. He has his track record. He has a high batting average of being right. But he's agreed to join us now, and on metric time over in England, it's like 4 days from now, and it's like they have like 65-hour days. So let me beam him onto our bridge. I think you'll be very surprised. Ruby Hoove, Happy New Year to you. I super appreciate you bringing another member into my community. But let me bring to you now a newsmaker, and oh, hey, and thank you, a $5 super chat. I did not see that one. You know what? I need sound for that one.
Admiral Teague, incoming super chat.
Thank you so much, Ruby Hood, for that. I appreciate the $5 super chat. Happy New Year to everyone on behalf of Ruby. And you know what, Ruby, Happy New Year to you. Thank you very much. Happy 2026, guys. We can only tie 2025 as far as boring. But you know what? We have the cure for boring right now. Ruby Hood sponsors this one as a member of our channel's Q Continuum. And you know what, everybody, thank her for that. I really do appreciate it. It's, thank you so much. But now to our stage for the first time. You've heard about this controversial. I'm trying to learn how to speak in British so he'll understand me. I think he speaks English. I don't know. There's 3 different languages at play here, so please, I have a language barrier. Forgive him if his American's a little rusty. We've all been practicing. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard about him. He is the Tachyon Pulse. Hello, sir. You didn't wear the Adidas jacket. I wore mine for you.
It's over there, but it's cold here. It's like 2 a.m., so it is a bit chilly.
We all appreciate you joining us and for fighting the oppression of metric time from Airstrip 1.
Yeah, it's sleepy over here. But look, it's New Year's Day. I'm off tomorrow, so what the hell?
Happy New Year to you. Happy Stardate 2026. The year we fight back. I think that we have a good chance of taking Star Trek back. But you have 2 videos in a row. Both did very well. They're a bit vexing. I'll put your page up on the screen if you don't mind, and we'll talk about. You've had 2 very, very controversial days indeed, or well, not very controversial, but 2. You're having the same problem, I believe, that everyone else has, where you seem to get one story, and it's pretty firm, and then the next Star Trek story drops, and it's just as firm, but it's a little bit mutually exclusive of the one before. Have you been having that problem where like one source will sort of they'll overwrite a little bit of each other, but the rest of it just can't line up?
It's a confusing. For one, Hollywood just generally is confusing. It's not like other businesses. It's like I've been doing this about 5 years now, and I knew nothing about the entertainment industry when I started, and I, through pure luck, fell in with a couple of people that work in the industry, and they taught me. And I've slowly, over 5 years, learned that it's an insane business. It doesn't make any sense in lots of ways. So you do get different opinions and things, but yeah, there's
So
whispers going
you've had
around Star Trek.
you've had quite the week. You've had videos 5 days, 3 days, 2 days ago, and 7 hours ago on Star Trek. Let's work backwards here, and we'll just deal with the last few days. We have a Kurtzman is not happy. That one involves a meeting gone wrong, right? Correct, or a meeting that just didn't go on his terms, and a what would we call it? An improper offer or a proposition that he didn't like, and a very decent proposal considering he can entertain, in my opinion. But he like basically an FU offer.
Well, kind of. They basically said that there's a take it or leave it offer, is my understanding. And you've got to say that. I will say the people I speak to, you only sometimes see bits of the story. I'm not talking to high up executives or whatever. I always try to tell people I know bits of things, so you got to be a bit careful. And also, there is Chinese whispers, there is things. But what I'm basically being told is there was a take it or leave it offer. It was an exclusivity deal, or maybe a first look deal, which I'm not quite sure what the difference is. I'm not sure which one was offered, but it's not an exclusivity deal for Star Trek. And that's the bit that basically the existing deal now has guarantees in it, so that he gets to do this many shows, this many episodes a year, blah, blah, blah. The deal they've been offered now doesn't, and there's no guarantees in it. And that's the bit that he's not happy about, apparently.
It's interesting how different the way the president has been presented to you and through my sources, but I'll let my co-host just react to that. Jerm, what do you think of that bit? To me, that seems to track. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, it does seem to track. They would give him a BS deal for both sides to save face, but I don't think there's anything real. A few $1 million being thrown out of the way.
You went underwater there. Could you say the last part again? I'm sorry. The audio went out.
I would interpret it more as here's a couple $1 million to not pitch a fit.
Yeah, I think that's 100% fair. Yeah.
All right. I tend to agree with most of what both of you are saying. Now, this is my take on it. It's a little bit specific, but it also makes a lot of sense, okay? When they were delivered with this Star Trek Discovery show initially, and we all can say this now, we don't see the money on screen. We don't see the money on screen anywhere, and that's their other show, which we could call a sister show to it. Is it fair to say it would be Rings of Power, right? Because they spin a lot of their writers. I believe Lindsay Weber's with both. She goes back and forth to write both. The Lindsay Weber, like, how does she find the talent to write 2 such huge shows, right? Star Trek Discovery and Rings of Power. She's just a tour de force of feminine superpower stories. But so there's something going on there. Both shows suffer from the same accusations. I believe with Rings of Power, it was $100,000 a second year one, the first season, and you can't say it looks like they were spending.
Not quite fair, was it? Because For
Even
one,
if it's
that is including all
70,000.
the licensing fees. There was incredible. Any show like this is incredibly expensive to first set up. If you remember, like when Voyager came out, the first double episode technically cost $26 million to produce, but it didn't really. It was because it was building all the sets and building all the things. So
Well,
they say
just
that Rings of Power cost that much to produce season one. It didn't really. A lot of those costs go over all 5 seasons that they've got planned. But
well, I would say this is twice in a row that these people were over budget and ran out of money, right? I mean, we don't see what looks like an extremely expensive movie. Look at Section 31. I mean, that looks Poverty Row. Batman 1948 has the same level of production quality. So this is the path of the journey that I heard. You ready? So
yeah.
Netflix signs up for Star Trek, and there hasn't been Star Trek in a while. Now, while there may have been franchise fatigue back in the day, there now has been a really long time, but even since the last Kelvin movie. So the shows were well anticipated, and people were ready to watch them, and they did a good job of just turning people off very quickly. And I would just say to you, deleting a room full of school children with a kaboom boom device in a way reminiscent of, whose flag flies over the non-central West. You know what I mean? The central non-West and other places like that, to be highly euphemistic. When torn from the headline Star Trek at a high cost to a lot of... We have Star Trek where they're saying fuck a couple of episodes into it. And also we're starting out with blowing away a classroom. I think that's the safest way I can say it. And it's despicable on its face. It's torn from today's headline in a way that no one wants. No one wanted Star Trek like that, and what they did was they tried to send it back. And they said, this is not Star Trek. So Hollywood, this is something that Americans know. Hollywood contracts say that you will always go to arbitration rather than court, right? And that's secret.
Public.
Go ahead.
It would be public arbitration.
No, it can't be. It's secret arbitration first.
Arbitration is always public.
No, it's court.
Not in this
the
country.
United States, in our country, arbitration is secret, and it's done by an industry arbitrator who has worked in the industry, and they have what's called a binding arbitration agreement, which has the same judgment as a court of law. However, the records there are sealed. Hollywood agrees to try to do that before anything else because they feel as though it would look bad if that stuff got out.
It's public here. Okay.
Yes, that's why we get a lot of disclosure when Disney went over there to play games with their books. We found out things that your tax disclosures told us about, like Snow White being something like $500 million worth of money burned up, right? And other crazy shit like that. In the United States, this stays in-house. They go to Canada for their workplace, but that's not that important. All the deals take place between Americans and America, right? Or whatever you're going to say, American companies. So what happens in a breach of contract...
sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
Go on, I'll come back to you. Go on.
All right, I'll tell you my side of this one as we heard it, and then you can give your take. So in America, about 3 business cycles is what's agreed to if people have a common law agreement. So what happened was there was a contract, it fell apart. Everyone agreed there was a deal, but no contract, that they tried and they failed. So in America, what they try to do is restore the business relationship so everyone can continue making money. It's very important. We're hyper-capitalistic that way, and Hollywood also, with the secret arbitration, protects itself. Now, Netflix was saying that the people from Secret Hideout were resistant, and rumors started floating that we don't want this because it's not Star Trek. And at that point, they agreed to arbitration very quickly to get that out of there. The tardigrade thing happens at the same time. You familiar with that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Tardigrade, for our listeners, is a video game that they were accused of plagiarizing. And I think between you and I, without slandering anyone, our non-expert opinion was that some of that stuff looks pretty close, including the casting of Steinmetz may have been based on the Tardigrade's like weird human symbiote naked space lover. It was so weird, the game, but they did take some stuff that seemed for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next step would be this. The business relationship's broken down, but there's a deal to try to make stuff. They're like, this isn't Star Trek. Now, if you notice in season 2, Now, season 1, they locked them into a season 2 with a dirty trick rug pull ending. If you're the people who said to them, you can do this and you can have maybe allusions to the Enterprise in it, but you can't have the other characters. And they do this end run where they can only poach into the territory of the off their license. So right away, they're looking a little bit bad faith to some people. Now, remember, Alex Kurtzman's first professional work is Xena Warrior Princess. But later, when he levels up after Transformers Prime, he is in a position to direct live-action television, and there's a Hollywood strike. He crosses the line. So he is a scab in American labor. So not well liked in the industry side of this. And so what happened was, as they're resisting, first of all, it leaks out that the lawsuit, because it wasn't Hollywood, with the tardigrade people, I never read the decision, but it leaks out, and people have said that what happened with that one was their defense was unovercomable. It was run up the costs on the independent video game maker, which is cruel, right? We agree on that one. And they basically what they said was their defense, and tell me what you think of this before you tell me if you believe it. Their defense allegedly was, there's not enough story in our story to say we stole a story. We don't have a story for you to say we stole one.
Okay.
What would you think of that as a defense? And do you think that based on the show that we've gotten, they're out of their minds saying it? And hello to Euler Greg and Sith Dan and everyone else I might have missed. Hello, Jerry Lahane. Sorry, just greetings.
I vaguely remember the story at the time. And no, I agree with you. It didn't really make much sense at the time. But for anyone to prove something in the court of law is a high bar as well. So just because something...
Well, this is arbitration now, though.
Yeah,
so we're talking tardigrade, though, right?
You still got to evidence it, haven't you? But what I'm trying to say is, even if they say there isn't a case to argue, doesn't mean there isn't. It just means
that's true.
Hard to prove. And when it's anything like this, when it's stories, this reminds me of like the Deep Space Nine. J. Michael Straczynski claims that they stole the Babylon 5 story. It's the Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine stories are very similar. And
yes,
he pitched it to them a year before, but proving it is really, really hard because you're going through the whole of like, well, yeah, but you said this and you said that, and stories. What is that? There's an old saying that there's only really about 6 original stories. Everything else is just like a version.
Right, there's 6 plots, and you can mess with them, but man versus himself, man versus environment, man versus technology. I think those are some of them.
I just mean it's hard to prove.
Which one are you framing, though? You're saying the tardigrade thing as far as the court of law? Because that one we do have more access to, and we could probably check stuff if we wanted to. And hey, Reverend Burnfried, good to see you, sir. Great pictures on the AI today. My friend makes some very racy AI pictures, Tachyon Pulse. You have to get to know some of our pals. Guys, this is the Tachyon Pulse. He's from America 1.0, or otherwise known as Britain. He has an Adidas jacket too, but he's out of uniform tonight. Yeah, it's a great place, I'm sure.
America 1.0.
Yeah. You know what? The other rude American joke that I say is, I've never been there, but I have flown over it like my German grandfather.
We got an American called it. Are you from the 51st state? No.
You're from State Point O, man. Like, you guys were the OG America. Like, people went to the Netherlands to think it over, and then they came here, and they're like, all right, we're going to read you England.
Everybody thought I was from Australia. He goes, what part of Australia are you from? I'm not.
Because you don't have a London accent, and you don't sound like Ozzy Osbourne that much either, so it's not one of the 2 English accents we know.
Actually, Ozzy Osbourne used to own a pub that's on the high street, on the town I live in.
How did it make any money? How did it ever have any alcohol?
It's a sports bar, so it's always heaving, to be fair, but he hasn't owned it for years, to be fair. It's still called Aussies, but it's as in...
Why would you ever change the name? Yeah.
It's like, it's I only have to go about 10 miles down the road, and I'll talk like this. So
when I get to the industrial... when I get to Midland, England, we'll have to go there. Let me finish painting this crazy story. So the tardigrade thing is what it is in court. Like, so we know a little more about that. That's more checkable. But that ends up with, we're so raised out of the game, we don't want to fight the Star Trek people anymore. And they sort of almost get like a split decision in boxing terms. It's like, they pretty much were right. They don't have a story, which isn't a stretch. Now, back at Netflix, where things are in arbitration, it stays in arbitration a real long time. It doesn't get settled. It's like they're fighting. And we find out, what comes out is apparently the stakes are this. They've done 1 year's work. They say they have another year's work in the can. And their buyout is 3 years, so they're looking at getting something like 5 or 7 years' salary for 1 year's work in 6 months litigation, and that they wanted to go then maybe double their money and go do another show somewhere. And I would say their business pattern since then of always being twice as long to get the show out there, even though it's become industry standard. With their show, there's no reason for it because their sets are built for years and they don't use. There are so many scenes filmed without principal actors all being in the same place at the same time. They don't care. It's so cut together. It's a Frankenstein's monster of a story. So for their lead time, their delay, I believe they dragged their feet to get through the Paramount thing. And like in America, what usually happens is we have what's called the Universal Commercial Code. There's in-state and interstate ones. I'm going to assume it was the California in-state one, but they're all relatively the same. And one common remedy is if you're in business with someone, if you own a chicken farm and I own a retail dairy place, right? And you bring me chicken, you bring me eggs, right? And I buy like 10,000 eggs from you a month. We do that for 4 or 5 years. But even if we never have a contract, like you're making phone calls to me back and forth, we're sending faxes or whatever, emails, right? There's a trail of business. So if I say to you, you know what, my friend Germ has eggs for less than you, I'm going to go with him. You can say to me in America, fuck you. There's a statute of frauds, and there's such a thing called the Universal Commercial Code. You have to stay in business with me until I can make sure I get out of this without being self-damaged. And I might already be in a deal with Germ where I have to double pay people. People have gone broke over these kinds of decisions. It's called being hasty, but the common law deals that make America mostly go, they're what we default to when a contract breaks down. So in that arbitration, the accusation was they were trying to get something like 5 or 6 to 1. By making Star Trek badly on purpose that wasn't Star Trek, and that when they couldn't get out of it because the arbitrator said 3 business cycles, which is very common in America. So in the egg and dairy scenario, I might have to stay with you for say 3 months, 9 months, right? Like three business quarters, something like that, so that you can realign your business, not have to affect the economy, not have to devastate a viable business. I'm not going out of business doing business with you, so I can keep doing it. You didn't change anything, and we have an implied contract. In America, there's also something called a common law wife, where if you live with someone for too long, she just becomes your wife. You guys got that too? Yeah, you based your judgments. You based your constitution on ours, is what we were told in school.
Oh shit! So I nearly spat my beer out there.
It looks like a very tasty brew. Is it an ale or a lager, sir?
Your constitution was written by us.
I know.
Who wrote the Guild theme tune? The national anthem. He's Dutch, wasn't he? Actually, I'm not sure. Anyway.
In my part of America, we did have significant Dutch influence because we're a Dutch colony first for a while. So,
yeah.
As you know, you and the Dutch were the same country on and off. So when your guys show up and say, we're in charge, we're like, sirs, we don't know. So they showed up and it was just a fact of life. The kingdoms had unmerged. We were supposed to shoot back. We didn't know. That's the truth. That's how New York became a British colony. And no one much cared.
Although, don't we? I just nearly spat my beer out when you said this.
Well, that's the thing about New Yorkers. We have seen it all. It's a world city, and we don't much care. We'll be okay. Like we've seen it before. So it's a live and let live perspective. It's like, if something changes next, it'll just be our 5th government. We had whoever was here before the Native Americans, the space aliens, the Native Americans, or as we love to call them on this channel, the Guardians. We call them the Guardians. Well, this way, when we talk about Taylor Sheridan, we can talk about the Native Americans, and some of them are not good Native Americans, so we can be like, that Guardian's evil, and we won't get in trouble from YT.
I'm just going to move away from that. We don't have.
It's a baseball joke.
Yeah, okay. I don't understand baseball. We call baseball rounders, and girls play it. So
I believe it was a reverse import from our country, your Rounders. But yeah, the deal is there was a team called the Indians that changed their name to the Guardians. So it just to Americans, it makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
All right, listen, back to this. So you're up to speed on what I heard.
The arbitration thing, right?
How do you feel? How is that hitting your ears? Before you say, I'm scoffing at it or I'm not, like,
No,
How is that hitting your ears? I want to know what's that saying to you, and have you heard this story before? Any parts of it?
I've heard the arbitration story before. I've never spoken to anybody that I think would know about it that has ever told me it's true. And it's not something I've thought about for a long time, to be fair, either.
We know there was arbitration.
We are talking about 5 or 6 years, aren't we? So,
right.
My understanding was
yes.
that Netflix, that 2 seasons of Disco were greenlit. Netflix paid for the international distribution rights, so they helped pay for it, basically. I can't remember what in America. You'd have to tell me what it was shown on in America initially.
It was called CBS All Access at first, but now it's Paramount Plus. But there was a collapse there, and they had to reconstitute themselves.
They agreed for 2 years. Those 2 years were honoured, and at the end of that 2 years, Paramount decided to put it all on Paramount Plus. I don't know anything other than that. All I can say is with the arbitration, I've never spoken to anybody that's told me it's true, and I don't think anything publicly has ever been. You can't. Google
you can't get it out in the public.
There's nothing publicly. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a rumor that might be true, but I have no insight to tell you whether it is or not.
And your story was somewhat different. We'll get to that because we only have an hour with you, and we're 27 minutes in. I would just say, so now we're at the point where back on September 26th of 24, my co-host and I broke the news that we thought that Alex Kurtzman was done, and then we put these caveats on it.
Okay.
If the Ellisons win this final round of Can I by Paramount, because they had it for a minute. For a hot minute, it was theirs. It was taken away again. And then in the United States, there was a situation where the company itself jumped into the presidential politics, and they end up losing. They lose a lawsuit outright. Everyone knows that. It's public record. We don't have to get into it. But it was weird because the previous administration had put the sale on hold. So it looks a little improper there.
I don't think they lost the legal action, did they?
CBS lost.
Court. Paramount paid Donald Trump $15 million or $25 million.
It all, I believe it was 25.
Anyway.
Jerome, what was the amount?
Is around $25 million, I believe, but that's a completely separate deal from the approval of the buyout.
Well, they said it was separate, but the buyout, the FCC basically approved it literally about 2 weeks after the court case ended. So it does look suspicious. But anyway, we also
although that approval did come after 4 or 5 90-day holds, and also that 1 year seeing other people hold. So that expired at the same time. So there's a few things going on at the same time where it might not be the biggest coincidence. You know what I mean?
Fishy, but
it might have looked fishy.
It's a very complicated system. And the FCC basically put it on hold. And they said, we're not even going to talk about this. And then literally 2 weeks after the deal went through, everything was agreed and it was signed off. But
well, here's the thing. There's a suspicion that the reason the deal was put on hold was that the company that would then be unaccountable would be able to do publicity that was favorable to one side of the equation in our election. And that's sort of without, now there's no litigation on that I know of proving it, but the Trump lawsuit speaks to it having some truth to it. He got defamed a little bit by some other networks too, whatever. That's a whole other story. Yeah, but the fact that the previous administration had put it on hold because the sale was done. Remember, they were ready to hand that off in July of 24. And there was 4 90-day holds, and also you have to see other people thing when they've tried to finalize the deal again, and then the final FCC things only let them take control. The deal's finalized in July, and they don't get full control until November 1st. So I mean that's right. Slow motion. So there's some people wondering if perhaps there were some political things behind the decision of the former administration. Now they're gone; they're not coming back, right? The former administration may have held up that sale, so that might have been why it recoiled so fast. It happened so fast. So there's 2 explanations.
Administration. The 90-day things you're talking about is because there was legal actions. There was 3 different bidders. Apollo was bidding as well.
Right.
So
these are FCC holds.
Wanted to sell to Skydance, a bulk of the other shareholders wanted to sell to Apollo. So that was why there was those 90-day holdovers, and then they had the thingy phase. What is it called? We've accepted your bid, but we can accept other bids while we're waiting. There was that happened. I forget what it's called. It's got a proper term. When it got to the regulators, that was under Trump. That was under the Trump administration by the time it got to the regulators. All the other stuff was just going through because there's loads of loopholes and things you've got to jump through when you're buying a company like this. Remember, there's also as well, it's technically a merger, not a sale.
Well, I think a lot of what you're saying might apply more strongly. I'm not saying it doesn't apply, but more strongly to what's going on with Warner Brothers, because they're looking at being bought by Paramount, who looks like the big bad bully on the block right now, or Netflix, which looks much more traditional by comparison, even with their crazy way of doing business.
Well, you got to remember that Skydance bought National Amusements, which owns Paramount, which then bought Skydance.
But let's remember who Skydance really is.
Well, Skydance is Dave Ellison and Oracle is Daddy's money, but also backed up by Red Kite.
They're an American defense contractor kind of money. Let's think about this for a second. Now, you like sports. We like sports. Each one of these, I don't know what a European soccer team costs in American money to put out in the field, but an NFL team, Jerm, what do you think, about $400 million a season?
An operating cost?
No, for salary cap. Salary. Good team salary.
Under
$200 million. So that's rough. That's within the ballpark of like one of these tentpole movies if you scale it back a little bit, right? Yeah. Thunderbolts was like we're gonna get by on just $200 million, right? So like they're basically putting out an entire league worth, or an entire division worth of teams as far as each movie in payroll, right? So it's just like they're dealing off Manchester United size chunks of money, New York Yankees size chunks of money, New York Giants football chunks size of money. And by the way, on behalf of New York, we're sorry that George R. R. Martin can't finish the books because the New York football clubs are so bad. But you get what I'm saying. They're throwing around these gigantic chunks of money. And with the Ellisons, they were looking to double the production between Warner Brothers and Paramount to have 30 movies a year, which would have been a good thing. And I guess before we speculate any further on that, have you heard the story about the hurt feelings of the people who did Ninja Turtles versus the Ellisons?
Oh, vaguely. Oh,
okay.
God, I was reading about this was it a month or two ago?
Germ, do you know this story, the Ninja Turtle story?
It's a little bit more. Is maybe two weeks ago.
Yeah, it was about 2-3 weeks ago. It's not quite a month
David
yet.
David Ellison is wanting to make Ninja Turtles one of the premier franchises for Paramount, and he essentially told Seth Rogen to go fuck himself.
That part was not a problem, but the person, I believe their name was NATO, Naito. I don't know exactly how to say it. Maybe it's Nito in Europe, but I'll go with NATO. NATO, I believe, was the name of the woman who was in charge of Ninja Turtles, and in like an angry tech bro style dressing down, because that's where they come from as far as the way they do business day to day. Ellison was like, you really fucked up the value of the Ninja Turtles, man. Bad job. And so they went. And they had a bit of a cry, and they called up HR, and they said, Mr. Ellison was sir, Mr. Ellison, it was HR, right? Madam, Mr. Ellison was so very improper to me. My feelings are really hurt. And they're like, oh my God, send them right over to our office. And they're like, it was almost like Lethal Weapon with the plastic on the floor. And it was just like when they got in the office, like, so we hear that you didn't like, your feelings were hurt. And like, yeah, like, well, fuck your feelings, because you did devalue our brand, which is worth money to us, which is why we're in business, which is why we bought this. And when you screw up, you're going to be held accountable. And if you ever do anything like that again, it's your ass. Get out of our office. And they put the message out. We don't care about your feelings at all. What do you think about that?
This sort of thing does happen. You got to remember, these are people at the end of the day. And I know there's crap loads of money bouncing around, but Stargate was one of the things I followed really closely the last 2 years. And some of the stories I was hearing about that goes on behind closed doors is ridiculous. One of the bosses they had a conversation about a movie or series or whatever, and the guy didn't agree, and he walked into the office, and I was told by somebody who was in the office with him, he kicked a bin straight across the room, yelling that he was furious about how the meeting had gone. So these things do happen, and Dave Ellison I hear lots of stories about Dave Ellison, we'll just put it that way. And
he doesn't seem to do
It can
business
be
in a
emotional.
traditional Hollywood way. He seems to be more of a tech bro, where he just
He's-
will yell at you. You fucked up. Your code's late.
He's a colorful guy, to say the least.
I was told he was a bit of a man baby. That was my
Yelling and screaming at
But,
your employees will get you that label if he's done that, right?
Well,
but he pays them
he's a
enough.
Spoiled businessman. Who's
I'm not his PR guy. Sure,
a
why not?
musician. He did badly at that. He tried to produce movies himself. He did quite badly at that.
Yes. Well,
lucky is
mixed.
Larry Ellison. Sorry.
Let's remember one of his failed movies is Star Trek Into Darkness.
I quite like Into Darkness. So I don't hate that.
All right, before we get, that's a debate for another day.
You have to be very, very good at your job to make Benedict Cumberbatch look like a shit actor.
Okay, all right. I knew that you had some kind of angle here. All right.
Because he was a bit mad.
My name is. You know, watch the reactions of the crew when that happens, because only Chris Pine seems to have researched it well enough to have the right reaction. Like, Zachary Quinto is slightly scared. Bones is a little bit scared too, and Chris Pine just looks at him like, huh?
All of them should have just gone,
Well, so what? And
don't look
the
like
problem, before I ask you a question about another Star Trek project, and maybe we'll have time for the movie before you go out, but you know what? As far as those Kelvin movies go, they're over. You liked Into Darkness. What about Beyond?
I didn't hate any of them. I just don't think they're Star Trek movies.
That's fair enough. Although I
if
hate
you
them.
removed all of the Star Trek references and they were just sci-fi action movies, I'd be like, yeah, okay. But
I don't know about that. See, because when I saw
that's my-
Force Awakens, I was like, this is so much better than his last movie. Because I thought Wrath of Khan was so bad. I mean, think about this, Tachyon. You're taking one of their prime enemies of all time, and it's because of their personal relationship with him, not because of anything else. And you're reducing him to another villain of the week, a monster of the week, whatever you want to call it. And all he has going for him in this context is not that he knows Kirk and hates him and read the crew manifest and the schematics of the Enterprise and has some tech edge. It's that he's about as dangerous as a sciencey Romulan who's taken some self-defense courses. He's 5 times stronger and a genius. And he's only as smart as JJ, which is another problem. His weapons are not that impressive. It's like, I'll make the same thing but bigger is not a genius, okay? That's pretty basic.
I was going to say, with the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, as long as you don't think of them as Star Trek and you don't really think, because you can't go through a black hole like that. It just doesn't work. And all of a sudden, the Enterprise is water-powered, which makes no fucking sense. And honestly, go
Yes.
on and on and on and on and on with them. They're just not.
I think that part with the
We've got
engine room was
transporters, but we're still going to have spaceships. Okay.
that was when you knew they didn't care at all. And you're still so early in the movie too.
But as long as if I took the Star Trek out of it, I'd be like, this is a fine popcorn sci-fi action movie. It's fine. It's quite enjoyable, quite funny. I like the actors, great. But
Yeah, I don't think anyone would remember it, but you might be right.
You just can't. I just have to separate them in my brain from everything Star Trek.
I don't think anybody would remember it if it was something else. If they were like, whatever, like, the J.J. Abrams space movie. What was it called again? Who was the bad guy? John Harmon. They couldn't even come up with a new name than the name of the captain from Star Trek 7, and they couldn't come up with a new villain than the villain from Enterprise. It was too soon. All right.
The mistakes that J.J. Abrams and then Alex Kurtzman have made, though, with Star Trek over the last 8 years will be here till bloody next January 1st.
And we only have you for about 20 minutes. So I want to give you a chance to plug your show before.
Until I fall asleep. Don't worry.
All right, fair enough. Here we go. What do you know about Star Trek United? What do you think?
The only thing I really know about it is, and I've got to be careful what I say here. Right, so I know it was pitched to Paramount, not through Secret Hideout. I know that for a fact, because I've spoken to somebody that was involved. We'll put it that way. So,
well, we've heard from the director that he just pitched it openly and hoped that they would pick up on it.
Yeah.
So good timing by him. He's proving to be a good businessman.
It's not the director, the showrunner. So
Right. Well, he directs a few episodes.
Sussman basically has pitched it with he's got a bit of a team. He's pitched it directly to them. Now, under the current deal with Paramount, anything that goes on TV has to go through Secret Hideout. So that to me is quite an important indicator that there's probably not going to be a new Alex Kurtzman deal. If Paramount
runs out at the end of this year.
Well, it's July 31st, we think it runs out.
And if we're wrong by a year, that still gives
definitely summer 2026 it runs out.
All right, so let's say we're off and it's the end of 2026. It still wouldn't matter because, quite honestly, his poison is coming on in 2027 with his so-called season 5 of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, which
the contract gets really complicated. So because it gets really complicated. So the end date of the contract is either July or August. The last month of the last day of the month, 30th or 31st of those months.
And he's allowed to shoot his mouth off and say and announce projects till the last minute they drag him out of that office. Remember that.
No, they can't announce anything.
He can announce stuff.
Not in the last 12 months of the deal, they can't.
You know what? He's announced a bunch of aspirational shows today, but he's more than 12 months out still.
But it's announced aspirational. They have not greenlit anything, and they've been talking about stuff they've pitched. But they can't. They're in the divorce period of this contract now, so they can't film anything from January 31st. Everything's got to be production's got to end, because that then goes into the last 6 months of the deal. If they
we're going to celebrate on February 1st.
Well, if Academy runs over, they in theory have to ask Paramount's permission to continue, or it should end, apparently. Then they go into the last 6 months of the deal. The problem is that the deal they've got means that anything that's in post-production at the time, Paramount still has to pay for. So even though the deal ends, let's say July 31st, which everything I've spoken to seems pretty confident it's July 31st, the deal technically carries on until post-production on whatever's, I think it's going to be Academy Season 2, ends, and that's when actually the contract is then finished completely. So it's not as easy just to say there kind of isn't an end date to the deal in a way. It's when they're finished, basically.
All right, I mostly understand what you're saying. Out of all these new shows,
it's the way the contract's put together. It's so in Secret Hideout's favor, it's ridiculous.
You know what? I do think that there are means for them to get out of the contract still. I mean, Netflix did it. And let's remember something. You are right about how they can't say, oh, this is definitely happening, but they can make aspirations and they don't have to really qualify it. They can go back and qualify it later. No one's going to litigate them at this point. They want them out the door. One of the things I think that Kurtzman will be hoping for most is a chance to litigate and try to make this more difficult. My opinion is his exit strategy is young adult novels and comic books that he can continue on with. No one wants, and I'll ask you this right now. Jerm and I happen to believe this. Do you think that things like this fucking crazy puppet show and this other nonsense that they're doing, I believe this. It's my opinion, but I believe this. I can't prove it. We weren't in the room. But, in this country, we're allowed to voice our opinions. So I think that he's making it bad on purpose because they have a resale ability on this Star Trek. Okay, so if Alex Kurtzman makes Strange New Worlds and it is so absolutely putridly horrible that they don't want to show it, Well, he can make it that much worse so that if Amazon was to show it, when you try to reboot Star Trek, like Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek fucking puppet show comes out, like, what do they do? Cross over to Doctor Strange and go to the paint and donut dimension too and do every stupid freaking thing? Hey, Sean! One of our guests has a question for you. Let's see. Question for Tachyon Pulse. Can 3 inverse versions of you really cause an anti-time eruption?
Yes, it can.
It can.
Very, very careful. Never.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sean is on our Star Trek show. He's on with me every Saturday night. We're doing Enterprise. I think we're the first people to ever go chronologically through Star Trek. Sean, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you know what? I have to play your
Admiral Teague, please stop using copyrighted material.
Never! Okay. I was supposed to press the other one, but that one works anyway. All right, so
My only
Unite.
saying that
Go
they're
ahead.
doing it on purpose to do a bad show.
I think they are. If the only counter argument is that they're that talentless, but then again,
No, I think
before
they're
you
that-
answer, whoa. Okay, well, no qualification. Let me ask you something. What do you think the amount of disqualification and the amount of incompetence that builds up over the course of 8 years of constantly refreshing with worse and worse and cheaper and newer and less experienced writers? The most failed writer's room in the history of dramatic television or science fiction in general.
Sorry, what was the question?
What do you think the effect has been from them having 8 years of no accountability? Just with the basement, the floor falls out in Ghosts of Illyria for Strange New Worlds, and it's just been in a free fall since then, getting worse and worse, dumber and dumber as the better writers have ran away, given up, pushed less hard. And we saw that last season was absolutely, I mean, for Terrarium to be called their best episode, that was LOL stupid. And was that a Henson's Muppet creature piece of shit?
It's Henson, yeah.
It looked terrible, didn't it?
I was the argument I had.
Bad
about
Skeksis.
is, I think it looks awful. For me, the musical still causes me physical pain. I just cannot. They're acting like this is the final season of a 10-year run, and they're there. Again, I'm a big Stargate fan. The Stargate 200th episode, they had a puppets, they had a musical bit, they had a Buffy bit, they had a Wizard of Oz bit, and they had a Farscape bit, all making fun. But it was their 200th episodes. The attitude was just like, go crazy.
Very much earned.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's like when Deep Space Nine does the musical. It's like Star Trek's been around 20 years. They could do this a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was at least couched inside a fantasy in the holodeck or whatever it may have been. That did not just happen to them, and they didn't just hand wave it away at the end like in Strange New Worlds, which is...
They'd earned it, though. Stargate in that position had 200 episodes. Buffy did it as well. They'd earned it by that point. They'd earned the thing to go, oh, we can take the piss out of ourselves now because we've earned it.
And next week we'll pretend it didn't happen and people will be fine. But for a 10-episode streaming show, when you're taking the piss, as you guys say, 3 episodes out of 10, my God.
Oh, that's my main frustration with Strange New Worlds, is that 3 or 4 episodes of every season are quirky, silly, stupid episodes. And I'm like, well, can we have some Star Trek? We've got 10 episodes. We've got 10 episodes. Can we at least make 90% of it fucking Star Trek, please? And then do something silly. I would have had no problem with a musical episode if it was a Christmas special. If they'd have done it as an 11th episode, a couple months after the season ended, as a bit of fun. And I'd have been, okay, maybe. I still would have hated it, but I wouldn't have been in pain over it. But instead, we got it as the penultimate episode of season 2, when it should have been building up towards the season finale. And instead, we got them bloody sick. And you're talking about it makes no bloody sense. None of that episode made any sense at all. They said, oh, the reality.
The singing one? Yeah. Oh, God. They basically, what happens is they find something in space, they drag it onto their ship, they stand around and poke it with a stick, literally, and then they're like, oh my God, we're singing, and they spend the rest of the episode, there's no more exposition or introduction than that. No. Nurse Chapel cannot sing or dance, they have to carry her around Busby Berkeley style. It's absolutely freaking terrible.
In from another universe, and that's their excuse.
And you can see that Ethan Peck is like, he earned the Nepo hire that he got. Like, he went to drama camp. He knows how to sing.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of tried to do something. And then even in an episode, like I alluded to earlier, like Ghost of Illyria is not a great episode. It falls apart in the middle. But his attempt to be the Spock earlier on in his development really was pretty good. JT says, I'm really enjoying this crossover with Admiral Tegan Tachyon Pulse. It's great to hear Tachyon Pulse live like this. I was watching on Sidetrack the other day when you were on there, but I have questions for Sidetrack that I'll ask for Sidetrack. I don't understand the low concurrence on their shows to have that many subs. But that's a story for a different day and a different channel.
Sidetrack was my channel for 5 years, and I sold it. So I got it up to 35,000 subscribers. I got really unwell, so I sort of retired from YouTube for about a year. And basically then I separated my wife and I had nothing to do, so I started Tachyon Pulse.
It's amazing how getting rid of the ex-wife will help you recover. That's a similar story for me. I was not doing too well until I got rid of her too. Well, listen, McGrath, you're all right. My God. And I'm glad that you got a few bucks for...
That's the story anyway.
Okay. I was going to say, like, for their lack of engagement, my thought was a fight with the creator or a prediction that blew up on them, that failed to come through.
No, just me. But I was the head of everything Stargate over the last 5 years. Pretty much, I've been pretty much the head of. So
there's no one who can question your Stargate lore game, and your Stargate theories are beyond me right now. So I'll stay away from those.
I know my Stargate.
I know. Before we get to the point where you need to pitch and split at any minute, because we'll let you make the call on that one. You said you'd hang out till you were real sleepy.
No,
all right. Well, we're wrapping up in about 68 minutes anyway, no matter what. But just so you know, so this is what we hear of United right now. It looks to us like the writer of this one is a really good businessman. And a really good Hollywood operator. He shows up at the right time at one Comic-Con, drops the idea, it metastasizes out there in the media without anyone having anything to talk about, and then the Kurtzman track comes out. And did you see that disaster of them? What they put on at the San Diego Comic-Con, where the idea catches fire for United?
Which one? I did watch most of that.
The dancing number.
Did you see any of what they did to promote Star Trek United? I'm sorry, not Star Trek United. Star Trek: Strange New World season. Did they call it 3? At the San Diego Comic-Con.
Star Trek Year 1. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the actual publicity at San Diego Comic-Con for Alex Kurtzman's 4th season of Strange New Worlds, the one we just got, right? Or is it the 3rd season? I don't know how he got... It's so hard to count it, Tachyon. The first season is really part of Star Trek Discovery. They're on there. Then their first season is actually their 2nd season, right?
Let's not do that. Strange New Worlds.
I know.
With Pike, yeah.
It is somewhat nightmare-esque, but you know what? Let me show you the video, and you can see some of the celebratory dancing and other stuff that we had going on in the San Diego Comic-Con. And JT, I thank you very much, my friend. Let me just see if there's any questions for you out there. People love the puppet bit on Stargate, so America, fuck yeah. And I would say the best 8 seasons of Kurtzman Trek are 5 Lower Decks and the 2 of Prodigy, Picard season 3, which are the 8 seasons that Kurtzman had the least to do with. That is true, and that also explains... You live in Europe, so you can vouch for this. One, Europe is real. A lot of people have been arguing that it's just Hollywood has been putting this on us to try to drag us in a leftward cultural direction. But so Europe is real.
Yeah, Australia's real as well.
Listen, at night,
I don't think it is, but it is.
At night, do you ever hear the giant spotlight that they call the sun being cranked back across to the other side of the world so it can make another day's journey across our flat Earth?
The Germans built the cogs and everything, because they're good at that sort of thing, but we run it because, that's what we're good at.
Way to go on expanding the flat Earth lore. I like that. All right, yeah, it was a World War I operation.
Yeah. That's what we did to Victorian times. We set all this up. When we decided when all the time zones were as well. It was all the same thing.
All right, so the people from Star Trek United, they have a plan that they're going to try to drop their Star Trek show and have basically it's a one man operation, but Sussman and who would have thought this? Sussman ends up being, how would I put it? Sussman ends up being the producer of 70 episodes, and there are, what is there, 94?
About 97.
Okay, in 97. It gets confusing with Enterprise because in season 3 there's 26. Season 4 there's 26 episodes, but there's like 6 or 7 stories. They're so interwoven, and there's so many 3-episode arcs. It's good though. Quick question on this one, so we can get it from Tachyon Pulse and from my co-host. Would you think that last couple of seasons of writing a lot of 3 and 4 episode stories uniquely sets up, if we get the band back together of the writers of Enterprise, to be streaming writers? That they understand 3 and 4 episode loops better than most people?
Enterprise was sort of the start of the streaming way of
It
doing
had that feeling, yeah.
It was in that crossover period, wasn't it? And it had more of a one long story arc thing, which I know DS9 had, and but it felt more like a streaming series than maybe what we'd had before. But that's in hindsight, isn't it? We knew at the time Enterprise was a bit different, but I don't know about you, but I didn't know at the time. The thing with what I'm hearing with United is that Paramount are looking at this and thinking maybe it might be a nice way to sort of segue from New Trek into whatever they do next.
It's the most convenient way to do it because it doesn't upset anyone's canon.
Yeah. But I don't think they're going to get 5 seasons or something. I think it'll be more likely a TV movie or maybe a mini, like a 4 or 5 episode season or something to try and then move on to whatever they've got planned next. But I can tell you now, Paramount are happy with this, and I think we know that from Sussman talking to a lot of different channels because he's developing something. He wouldn't be developing.
Well, the one that really counts is Trek Culture. We know that that's CBS.
No,
Paramount. That's Paramount.
Sci Fanatics. He's got a big, strong links with Sci Fanatics. He's on there. He's been on there a few times.
The thing is, right, that's while those might be bigger opportunities as far as real fans, because I believe that Trek Culture is pretty astroturfed. Hey, there you are. You showed up in our review too.
No, good looking.
Bad day on the shorts tile. Sorry. When we transform you, we try to make sure we get you with a good look on your face. Like it happens even with me when I freeze myself. It's like I'll catch myself and I'll always be like,
"Yeah, no, the shorts are horrendous." That's why.
What are you gonna do
on my tiles?
But what are you gonna do?
With Sussman, he is developing this. He is apparently working on a pilot script. So I don't think he'd be doing that if Paramount hadn't have at least suggested that there was a possibility.
It's good to see The Apprentice, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Gosh, 6 weeks, that's a while. So as you see, you made it into our video. We talked about this because I think one of the things that you did was you had been one of the early mentioners of Star Trek United. So that's why we mentioned you in this one in context. We gave you credit. It's like, basically a guy with a lot of subs who can get a lot of views said that this is coming down the pike and that we're going to have, possibly a Star Trek United show. Mm-hmm. And that tracks, right? I'm not wrong about that. You said that about 2024? You made your first mention of United?
Probably sounds right.
All right.
I just want to make sure I got it right. For a while, though, isn't it? It's been longer than that. It's been knocking around as an idea.
He's been pitching.
Yeah, that's true.
Almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
It comes off the screen in the episode Through a Mirror Darkly.
I think Star Trek United as a term has only been knocking around for about 18 months. But
you know what? It's a great name for a Star Trek show considering what we've been through.
Yeah.
Look, it's Dr. Bashir's uncle.
Yeah, very cool. It's a good working title. But but then we're talking
Here
about
it is.
Thing for ages.
Here it is. This is what seals the deal, in my opinion, for Star Trek United. This is the real. But first, let's get a question for Tachyon Pulse from my friend JT Kirk. He says, question for Tachyon Pulse. Do you believe Academy Season 1 will air in its entirety? And he has a follow-up, but answer that one first if you would, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think season 2 will air or will be used as a write down?
Yeah, maybe. If it
Thank you,
completely
JT.
implodes,
Sir, 22 months.
well, if it completely implodes and really, the way that the deal is, I mentioned this to you before we started. The way the deal is for this show isn't because Paramount haven't actually made this show; they've just paid for it, but they've already paid for it. So there's no, they can't scrap it and try and do a tax write-off. They can't. Secret Hideout could, but there'd be no benefit for them to do that because Secret Hideout are the ones that have actually made it. Not
I've got to take this. I've got to take the comments down so you can see this dance number. All right, sir. So Alex Kurtzman this is how we figure. And Germ, do you think would you like to describe what happens in the parking lot of the San Diego Comic-Con?
I don't think I can do that without using several slurs.
I'd like to give my co-host a chance to pitch in, but as you can see, a lot of the time he's just trying not to vomit and just suggesting things here and there. Okay, so this is my theory. They told him, look, no more money for this publicity. You got what you got, and he's like, but I have singers and dancers, and it's a big brassy Star Trek singing and dancing number, and they were just like, no. So he was like, well, if I can't do it in the convention center, I'll damn well do it in the parking lot. Like some kind of drama queen. Like we're talking like literally a 1940s like female diva, shouting in her trailer like, I'm going to get my singing and dancing Star Trek, and I'm going to get my singing and dancing episode of, Strange New Worlds out there where we troll Gene Roddenberry, and we're going to do that in the parking lot. And when you see these people walking by, you can see they're a little too stunned to react in any way. They can neither they don't know whether to cheer or jeer, and they're absolutely flabbergasted. Now the dancers try, and it's a little chopped up for fair use because I don't want to go to YouTube jail. But the dancers try, but this is like the endorsement that money can't buy. To have this kind of singing, dancing Star Trek. They were upstaged by a freight train that was themed for The Simpsons at one point, going by behind them, and the singing, dancing Star Trek. Here a little bit of it is more again. And you're hearing Anson Mount narrating this, and they're playing all their stupid Strange New Worlds movie, and here we are, like, doing the tango. And look, it's just a filthy parking lot. The dancers are trying their best. Whatever. What do you do with this? And this is what they do at San Diego Comic-Con. Do you think that this is the massive cell phone that self-destructs Kurtzman? I do.
Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing.
You're not going to survive that, are you? You've made a fool. You went out of your way to make a fool of yourself. Now, what do you think of me saying I think he tries to trigger his buyout over and over? That was foolish, sir.
He's not going to get a buyout now of his deal anyway. It's too late.
I think that either he was trying to do brand damage to bake into them. If you don't buy my Star Trek, I'll sell it to someone else.
I've never thought of it this way before, actually, to be fair. Have you ever heard me mention that there are balloon payments at the end of this deal?
I did hear that in your last video, and there would be.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm calling it a balloon payment, basically based on a car. I was told the proper term for it, but I can't remember it. So I'm not.
Called a buyout or a golden parachute in American slang.
Golden parachute or something. So one of the reasons I was talking about why Paramount are jumping through so many hoops with this and letting them pitch loads of ideas, even giving them an offer at all, is because of the way this contract is written. It's really heavy in their favor, and if they don't get given a chance to get an extension, they all these penalties trigger. So Paramount are having to sort of give them all these opportunities. Would they be stupid enough to actually try to make the show so bad that it forces Paramount to sort of not give them a deal and then trigger those fees?
I have a reasonable explanation when you're done. Go ahead. I think I have a reasonable explanation.
It would be insane, though, because you're destroying your long-term brand. Because
your long-term brand was destroyed when you crossed that strike line in 2007.
Kurtzman.
Yeah.
His
brand has been destroyed as a director in Hollywood. One, because remember, Melissa Navias has publicly said that her career has been ruined by this. Melissa
I would
Navia
agree.
has
Well,
publicly
he's
said
gonna-
this has ruined her career. They've depended on her far too much, and they're too lazy and cheap to make Aliens. So she spends most of her time with that unhireable haircut, and she lost that other show she was on. So she has said, I get called there like a million times a year. Like, I just get running there. They shave my head. That's it. I can't work for 10 more weeks until even a pixie cut grows back in. And by that time, they've had me back twice more. They throw most of it out the window. And we know when she lost her boyfriend, they had her back at work, lickety split. They're like, nothing like, grieving to go back to the old grind to get over it. Come on back to Vancouver, and Melissa Navia, who plays the most insufferable character, seems like a nice enough person. She doesn't do Hollywood. She lives in Ireland, and she's straight. So, like, nothing like the character she plays, I guess, speaking to her good acting skills. But so Kurtzman is pretty much done. He's not going to get a job somewhere else. Terminators was his last job. Paramount bought them. We know that they're not crazy about him. So that door seems to be closed. My opinion on this is this. They have a first look and buy, and if they don't buy, Kurtzman is allowed to sell them to other people, is what I was told. Okay? Yeah. This is my information. All right. So that's what happened, and Netflix only was willing to do business with a Kurtzman subsidiary that was hived off from him, where he couldn't touch them, and the show had no possibility really of coming back. So they were never going to negotiate. They were never going to launch a campaign to bring back Prodigy. They're like, you got it. It's all right. We'll give you this much money. It's not that much money in light of the content's value for us. We don't care. It was like the J.J. Abrams Batman thing that came out 2 years ago that no one wanted to watch. Where he brought back all the animators from the animated series, but it was woke and bad. It was bad.
Yeah,
it was so stupid and bad. Yeah, the Penguin one was the worst.
Tried to watch it, but I couldn't. Yeah.
And like the fat Alfred and. And they got rid of Germ. Who was our buddy, the sloppy cop? Bullock. And Ortega ate him. She was body positivity and Latino. Latino wasn't enough. They had to change her, and that's just J.J. Abrams all the way through. He's a one-trick pony. But I think what happened with Kurtzman is, with no future prospects, what he did was he saw the Netflix deal get bought, and I think he's a lot more devious and litigious than he is creative. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to hold that. My feeling is this. They have to show it because that's in the contract. If you notice, they're burying it pretty quick, and they already changed the appellation for Section 1 from movie to streaming movie. It was called movie for as long as they were contractually obligated to, and not 1 minute longer. And it's hard to find. They're not pushing that on anybody. They're going to bury that, like, memory hole the shit out of it as soon as they can. They want control of his bad product so that when they relaunch, Amazon can't put on some sort of terrible Star Trek, like troll them with the terrible Star Trek they've made. Oh God, The Wall of You. Sorry. The Star Trek dancers. I mean, is this not, what have you seen this, and what do you think?
I do. Somebody showed it me at the time, and actually, to be fair, I didn't think it was. I assumed,
fucking humiliating.
Well, I assumed it was like a flash dance thing. I didn't think it was actually like
this was 12 minutes long and performed 5 different times.
You do see things. It's seeing the Strange New Worlds box there that makes me realize I didn't see that bit before. But you get things like this at Comic Cons and stuff. People doing stuff in the car parks and things. So I assumed it was just like.
That was not a flash mob. That was not fans. They were paid for by Paramount. And the only thing I could come up with, it was such a dangerous bunch of dance moves where they're spinning people over the asphalt that I think what happened was they're like, you're not getting this room. No one wants to see it, and you'll end up getting heckled. No. And he was like, well, I've hired my dancers, and I want my singing dance. Because we don't know what the deal is with Kurtzman, but he loves the singing and dancing a little too much, okay, for a Star Trek
They
creator.
do put a lot of that stuff on in car parks and stuff and around the convention. So I've been to San Diego Comic Con.
I've been to the New York Comic Con. We don't have a parking lot, so you know what? There's no outside on that one.
Yeah, but
they do that on the West Coast here, but it is rarely actually paid for by the studios and the production people. It's usually fans.
That's what I see. It was because the uniforms are shit.
These guys got a month rent for doing this.
The Apprentice 225, by the way, is now my favorite sub. He says, "It's wild seeing you. I always kind of imagined you as a heavier set guy with stubble and a whiskey bottle, lol. And you actually look like a Starfleet officer, Admiral. Trim and sharp." Well, that's because I train every day in the holodeck, and I also run the Riker Riker programs to stay young. That's my health secret. Admiral Teague's health secret and diet. And that beer Earl Grey called. Sorry, Jerm?
I was just saying, Apprentice, that was a picture of me that you got. Sorry about that.
Jerm doesn't like to turn on his camera because he has a really strong resemblance to 25-year-old Richard Gere, and it takes away from the show. Women go crazy. We've had problems with women outside his house waiting for him to leave, crying, throwing panties at their computer. It's crazy stuff. American YouTubing is a little bit different. But I guess I would ask you, do you have enthusiasm for Star Trek United?
Maybe. I like Scott Bakula. When I
Right.
heard he was going to be captain on Enterprise, I was just like, brilliant, best captain ever. This is going to be amazing. And it never quite fulfilled my.
Really?
Now, love
He's
him,
my number 2.
but at the time, I
I've come to love Archer. I understand that he does have his shortcomings. Here's the thing. I was so tired of Picard's philosophizing and guys built around that as the successful rebuild. Like even Janeway sometimes waxes Picard. Like, she's the wildest one. I mean, Sisko, he's a lot more purposeful, but even he has like this weird philosophical side where he'll build a clock while he's going insane or whatever he might do. And, you know, I was happy to have
What
a
do you expect from
two-fisted-
Space Jesus?
Right, you know what? At least when he shaved his head and grew back his goatee, he was able to project the character we really remembered him as, tough guy Hawk. But if you watch A Man Called Hawk, he's just being Sisko. I mean, maybe like we should have let him play to his strengths, and when they do, he's better. But you know, with Enterprise, totally different stuff here. I think it's very well set up for a sequel show, and. They're talking about Andor as a model. That frightens me. How does that make you feel? And Germ, how does that make you feel? You go first, Germ. You've kind of been odd man out here.
I was not a fan of Andor in any way, shape, or form, so I think that would just kill it if they tried to use Andor as a model.
It's not that Andor was. I don't know if Andor. Go ahead.
$600 on it and make it quite slow. I don't.
That's the thing. Slow. Andor, like, people were being really pejorative about, like, oh, those last 3-episode payoffs, like, you understand that final 3-episode loop, you don't get it, it was all worth it. And I'm saying it wasn't worth the 17 episodes that sucked, that were really slow. He did everything. There was a movie years ago called Buffalo 66 that was called the most pedantic movie of all time. It was about a guy recounting going to a football game with his father. We see him urinate twice. That's how pedantic the movie is. Like, if it doesn't happen on screen, it didn't happen. It's like the ultimate Alex Kurtzman rule, but they show you everything, so everything happens. Like, we see him sitting in the car for the literally like 38-minute drive while him and his dad have like the most boring conversation. And that's what seems to be going on, like, especially with Alex Kurtzman as a pedantic writer and as a problem in streaming in general. So I don't know. Maybe a little more to the point would help. Have you found that? By the way, here's Mr. DePaul. This is why Jolene Blaylock won't be back. His salary was $140 million in 2023. Yeah, we won't see Jolene again.
I love DePaul.
She was great in that dynamic.
I thought she's retired with her kids.
She is retired with her kids, but I mean, remember, she's a retired 46-year-old.
Yeah, I just thought that
with a 20-year-old kid, so her kid might be in college now. And she did do something for Lower Decks.
Yeah, she's done a couple of voiceovers for a couple of things. And she wants to show Robot Chicken and a couple of other things as well. So is she.
I think the deal is she kind of enjoys her career, and now she might be able to do a little bit of it. So we would see her show up about as much as her own mother showed up if there was an Enterprise sequel. But aside from
that, he would like to see some of the characters from Enterprise come across, hasn't he? So, but I don't think they've gone any further than that. So,
Well, you got to bring back Trip, but you've got that horrible temporal Cold War that no one enjoyed. By the way, did you like did you like that takedown of Shatner and everyone else in the weirdest of Strange New Worlds episodes where they had Admiral slept too late with the crazy hair who hates Kirk and all this other nonsense. And what did you think of that last season of Strange New Worlds? I found it hateful as a Star Trek fan.
I actually did a video at one point saying, "Oh, they've done 3 good episodes in a row," and the third one I think was the documentary episode, and a couple of people
I hated that one.
Well, yeah, the couple of people on the video went, "You might want to watch that again," and I did watch them again because they said, "No, they were terrible. What you're talking about?" So I watched them again and realized, "Oh no, these are fucking awful." The documentary episode in particular is awful. But
it's just to justify shooting with handheld cam.
Well,
It's
got
that's
a
the only
good
reason that
2
character's
minutes at
there.
the end. Anson Mount at the end. He's got just that very powerful speech thing at the end, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, that was amazing." But then when you watch the whole episode, it's like, "Oh no, this episode is awful. It's just got a good 2 minutes at the end." So
Even during that good 2 minutes you're referencing, let's remember that when he's talking, as we move around the bridge and see other people, it's from behind, and when people react to him, they're isolated, going in a canned nod. It was so sliced up.
The bit I'm talking about is just him 2 minutes at the end of the episode. He's just talking straight to the camera.
Or is this when he gives his opinion about why he's in Starfleet and why they were actually okay?
Literally the last 60 seconds of the episode, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
okay. That episode was a slog, and I hated Miguel. I hated the Miguel character.
Oh, but actually, I watched the episode a second time, and there's 4 or 5 bits in the episode that make no bloody sense at all.
No.
Like how he's listening to Anson Mount, to Pike and Number One talking about something that's very, very secret, and he's just basically doing that around the corner of the door, and he can hear them. I'm just like, wait a second, is there no security on this warship?
We've seen the ship's mostly empty. They can't afford background actors, so like it's baked in now. We can take a shortcut in the writing and just have just blurt out secret information.
Just peering around the corner, listening to them. It's just stupid. But anyway, that's just one example. I think there was maybe 2 episodes in the whole season that I can go, okay. And to be honest, they pissed both them away, because the one is the alien parasite-y thing. I forgot the name of it. Burns the guy's eyes out. They do it at Event Horizon.
I forget the name of that stupid episode, but that guy's such an asshole. He doesn't even poke it with a stick. It's so un-Star Trek-like. You know, honestly, the dumbest red shirt on TOS scans that thing with a fucking tricorder and goes, "Oh, stay away. It's real unstable."
Yeah, fair enough. But I actually quite liked the episode. But then I was expecting that to be a big sort of villain thing, and it just wasn't. It just didn't happen. And then they had the whole thing with the where his Mrs. I can't remember her name. Badger. What's the captain's name that he's Pike's dating?
Yeah, his girlfriend who's Gorn again.
Yeah,
she's a Gorn again reptile lady.
That made no sense. How she became the Centurion thing made no sense at all. She was like, "Oh, we've got the genetic memory of all of us." She goes, "No, you're a human and you're a Gorn. Where's the genetic memory for everyone else coming from? What are you talking about?" And
I don't know what you mean, Tachyon Pulse, because my great-great-great-grandfather fought at Gettysburg, and I can remember the entire battle in its entirety. So, yeah. I mean, you don't know everything that your father learned in school? Come on!
Genetic memory is actually a thing.
It is a thing, but it's more like influencing your feelings. Like, if your father was a soldier, you'll be more aggressive, and your father was a craftsman, you'll be more patient.
They actually said that there's the DNA from every species. The point was that she was supposed to be every species, but she was only human and Gorn. So there's it's like, where's the rest?
Although they injected her with the weird metastasizing, like Jesus juice from the planet of the Corby-mites or whatever.
Stupid zombie making juice. No.
Is there Corby already an android? Is that why one is acting socks? And what's with the punking of Irish people by these creators? Picard's girlfriend, this fucking idiot Roger Corby that I can't take.
Well, all I know is they seem to go, right, let's make a zombie movie.
This poor Kirk. This guy, I think, is finished in Hollywood after what he did to William Shatner.
The episode, the 1960s murder mystery.
Despicable.
So embarrassing. I,
It
my,
was
my
despicably
video
mean too.
was really hateful. Actually, I was really
It was
angry.
so hateful. Exactly. Yeah, you're nailing it.
I was really, really annoyed. Well, I thought it disrespected Gene Roddenberry. It made him look like a drunk. And I actually spoke to a guy from CBR. He was on a video sidetrack with us, and he was saying, "No, you've got to go deeper into that. It means there's all these layers to it." And I was like, "I'm sorry, bollocks to layers. On the surface, it's insulting Gene Roddenberry and calling him a drunk and shouting at people. It takes the piss out of William Shatner." I said, "Oh no, it's more taking the piss out of Jim Carrey's version." I go, no.
No, not at all. Jim Carrey did a respectful parody of it that William Shatner enjoyed. He didn't want to be taken down on a Star Trek show in the holodeck as a douchebag version of himself.
It was a joke. That wasn't Jim Carrey's.
Where was it? Yeah, where was the joke in that? Like, it's, you know what? Let's make it funnier. They go in there and they role play as cops, and there's a Shatner like T.J. Hooker kind of cop. Maybe that's funny. I mean, anything would have been better.
Do you remember there was the one episode of She-Hulk, and they took the piss out of people on the internet, and they basically took the piss out of comic book readers and called them nerds in a She-Hulk episode, and the internet went nuts. Oh, why are you taking the piss out of your core demographic? That whole episode to me just felt like it was taking the piss out of Star Trek fans. We were right in the crosshairs. They're going right after him. The only thing they didn't do is have like a Klingon General Doomcock and like a Romulan General Nerdrotic going after them to make it even to just go right on the nose. They were coming after us, and they were big, really big guys. I've been saying this for a little while. I'm sorry to belabor the point. I'll be really quick. This channel, just for whatever reason, I don't know if YouTube did it or I didn't pound this one home enough, but if you could turn on your notifications, you get great interviews like this. Tachyon Pulse has been cited as a source by like major YouTubers. You've been cited by Clownfish TV. Did you know that? No, I try not to.
Are you aware of Clownfish?
Yeah.
They're big. Oh, I mean, yeah, I personally, I'm a big fan.
I try not to watch. I try very hard not to watch other YouTube channels.
I understand that because to keep some objectivity for myself, I do try to stay away from other people's ideas.
I try to keep my stuff about what people are telling me, so I don't know what other rumors are going around.
Hey, Phantom Boomer.
Sorry?
Let me ask you a question. What's it like? I'm just greeting some of my subs. Let me ask you a question. What's it like for you when it gets back to you? Like one of your colleagues or whatever says to you, "Hey, Tack, listen to this, man. You got quoted by Midnight's Edge. It's like this big, Doomcock related, fandom guys in America. Like, they're huge. They got like 70,000 subs. Like, what goes through your mind? You got quoted by Clownfish TV. They got a couple of million subs. I mean, what goes through your mind?
Why aren't they sending some of those views towards me? Because that'd be great.
I'll start a clipping. I've been a clipping service for you because I've been like, what's with this Tachyon Pulse guy and all these fucking stories?
And I do this. I've got a proper job. I do this if this started as a hobby. It's something I enjoy doing. I will share stuff I get told, but it's not my real job. I'm actually a social worker. This is my real job.
Okay.
And so that is my priority.
Good on you.
Well, thank you. But that takes up. This is for me a hobby. It's a bit of fun. I make a little bit of money on it, not a lot, but I make a little. It's a nice hobby. So when I get stuff like, oh god, almost nothing. But it's it's nice pocket money. It's good. So I used to make more on Sidetrack when I had 30,000 subscribers, but
right. I don't know how they failed to engage. I've watched that channel a couple of times, and they two people on screen.
You'll have a chat with me off screen about it.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought it was a creative fight. I'll just leave it at that.
They're good guys, but yeah,
they did seem like good people. I have nothing against them personally.
Not doing as much with it as I'd have hoped, but
there you go. Okay.
Now,
so as far as
I hear things like that, though, I don't. I just talk about what I talk about and what I get told, and I find it a little bit.
We can leave Sidetrack out of this. It's not about them, but just referencing when you go live.
You hear like Midnight Edge or whoever else, but it's like I have people like Anson Mount message me out of the blue. I've got people from.
What did he message you to say? Don't go to church, because I know you went to church on Christmas.
No, it was he was actually unhappy about something I'd said, but then when we had a conversation, he was cool. But yeah,
he will talk to you a little bit. I've had limited discussion with him. It didn't go to DMs. It stayed in the open, but he will allow you to trash Strange New Worlds a little bit, as long as you don't go after him personally or his castmates. If you say that you didn't like the episode, he'll leave it alone. I think he's fed up now. Although he believes all of his politics. He believes what he believes. He's not being performative. Though I believe Robert Picardo is.
I spoke to Robert Picardo is great. I speak to him occasionally.
His new turn to being really, really political has been difficult to take.
I
just as a political agnostic, it's hard to take.
Yeah, but I don't really care if actors use their position to think. I don't think it takes anything away from the actor that I like. So that doesn't bother me. It's really hard when somebody's very extreme one way or another.
That's if you're an extremist, like for instance, Tim Russ, I think got to the point where when Az called him out, you and I and Germ, we're used to it. Like we report on Tim Russ's Twitter, like Tim Russ went berserk again today and was acting like a complete fucking child. And then for like 4 or 5 days, you'll see him like he'll be playing the guitar and being nice and being normal and quoting a science fact and being self-deprecating. And then he's right back to another insane rant. And then it's like he turns it on and off.
Yeah, sometimes these people just get caught. I've gone on political rants before when things get upset, and I have to remind myself that it's not. I do a sci-fi channel. I'm not a political analyst. But I'm
really afraid to be political because I feel like I would undercut anything I believed in because I'm a Star Trek guy, and I also feel like I would undercut my Star Trek by being political. We had an athlete in America called. We had an athlete in America called Air Jordan, I think was his name. What was the athlete's actual name?
Michael Jordan.
Michael
Yeah,
Jordan.
but
Even
you know what?
Michael Jordan.
So Shaquille Jordan.
And you don't remember him. He just spent 2 decades destroying the New York Knicks.
I blocked him out of my mind. But Shaquille Jordan, an American basketball player, said Republicans buy sneakers too. And I think that there's no such thing as a safe space. Welcome to the internet, right? There's no safe space. However, there should be a place where, like, the most important thing is our fandom and our fans. And I think that one of the things that the New Trek people took away from us was that because they sort of were like, well, we're just going to turn this fandom upside down and shake it. We're going to get rid of people who do not necessarily agree with us. And we're not going to take these politics and necessarily do anything to advance them. We're going to meet shield behind them the way that someone meet shields behind the NPC in a first-person shooter. And we're going to do them in such a way that is really pandering. And I'll give you an example of how self-defeating it is. There, black doctor. What a great story. He's black and he's a doctor. And he's a drug addict, and he's a murderer, and he tortured that individual that was his progeny who was not yet of age in the transporter loop. And they were saying, I'm in pain, don't make me go back in there. And he's like, you'll be fine. He had absolutely no feelings about that at all. No, the show had to come back. The show had to come back and let him off the hook, where she's like, all those immoral things you did turned out to be exactly the right thing, Daddy. And he's like, we're not going to do this terrible story anymore. And they're like, no, it's over. We're finally done with it.
Really quickly, didn't they?
They had to bail on that because they kept messing it up. Think about it. She said she was conscious in the stream. That is horrible. So now she's always in pain because he puts her in the stream so she's not in pain. So now he's putting her in the stream for no reason except to do experiments. And he's now the doctor from Schindler's List. He's one of them. He murdered the peace envoy.
Oh, yeah.
So your black aspirational doctor figure is a drug addict, violent, abusive murderer who is good for like 75 years on Nimbus 3.
Okay.
Or Rurapente. I mean, where do you think this man belongs? I want Rurapente. I think Nimbus 3 is a little too nice.
I guess, yeah, for Rurapente. Yeah, it just, the Federation was a bit looser back then, the way. So, but yeah, he was a war criminal. That's They did go too far.
He's a war criminal in the episode. Are you referring to the episode with Ron Howard where they use the wrong reaction on the actor and he gleefully deletes 200 people where he's like whistling and smiling when he does it? That was crazy bad. Did you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. No.
Okay,
They've done some strange things with lots of the characters.
let me just throw this out there for our audience, guys. There's an episode in the last season of Strange New Worlds where they bring back Clint Howard. So we're all happy to see him for a minute, and then he starts acting in this episode, and he's trying, but the episode isn't letting him do anything. As they said in American Dad, it wasn't getting the oranges down the stairs, if you know what I'm saying. So basically, like, I call him Mangala, like Joseph Mangala. I call him Mangala because that's the kind of doctor he is. Mangala has this thing where he decides he is going to be in the Federation military. He's killed a bunch of people already based on the story. All we hear about his time as a doctor, it's nothing like MASH. It's as though the doctors at MASH went out at night and sniped off a few enemy civilians to blow off steam so they could go like help their own guys out the next day. But they're like, look, we have a bunch of casualties coming in, Mabanga. We need you to go over there and clear some room in the medical bay transporter. Those people in stasis, just, you got to let the patterns go and we'll deal with these people. And it's like, what makes one group of wounded better than the other? I don't know. Like, they don't even explore that. He just walks over there. It's like, and like, what? It's like you hear the transporter sound, and it's like that's 200 Federation officers, Federation troops, or whatever, who just died, and he's fine. He's just like, I'm gonna go like watch like a high spirited movie. And he's quoting Shakespeare and being an asshole. I mean, that doctor. Would you agree with me that when they take these very fashionable causes that's mostly from the left, let's be honest, and they try to use them as an excuse to justify their show? Would you say that there's a strong case to be made that they're doing harm to those things by presenting them in a way that is unappealing, that is not entertaining, and that it is in fact protecting them, a bunch of straight white people? You know, let's face it, they're saying that they represent the problem that they say they are, right? They literally represent the problem they say they are, and here they are cranking out this weird Star Trek. Do you think that maybe they might be responsible for pushing the needle to the right, for discrediting some of the less extreme ideas, and maybe for resurrecting things that had been buried and in the past by hypersensitizing people to stuff? Look at that bridge crew on the Enterprise with Pike. There's not one straight person there except him, and his girlfriend tells him what to do.
Number one, Ortega. They're both straight.
Number one and Christina Chiang are in a relationship. They keep their underwear in the other one's cabins. They said, this is what we are.
Okay, they're bi then, are they? I don't remember.
Yeah, well, then they're bi, but the thing is they're in a relationship together, so I mean...
Christina being bi.
They can't just be friends. It's so gross.
Yeah, they could just be friends. Girls.
No, they have sleepovers in their cabins, which are like right near each other. Although on that huge ship, who knows? Maybe it's a 45-minute walk. But I'm saying, like, why would they have sleepovers in each other's cabins? You have cabins for a reason. You live on a ship. You're not supposed to. It looks improper. All vestiges of military discipline are gone from Starfleet.
No, there is Pike isn't a captain. He's a joke. He's like, do you want to come round for it and I'll cook? Fuck off. Be a captain for a minute. I'm sorry. I keep swearing.
You know, swearing's allowed. We're Americans. This is a New York-based show.
I just got to be careful with the monetization. Actually,
I don't care about AdSense. That's not my thing here. We take the hit with no AdSense. This is more of a live streamer. When I make my videos, it's for news and to make a point. I don't grind out videos. I will say this. I can't believe how well you manage to read and how many clean reads you get off that with no cuts. You can just sit in front of the camera and say your thing. You're good. Yeah, you're good at it.
Got quite good at it.
Although the one I watched today, you had like 4 or 5 fuck-ups where you're just cutting back and correcting the mispronunciation of a couple of words, but it was done in good fun. It's still a quality video. What are you going to do? You're making videos basically every other day.
I make them almost every day, sometimes twice a day, 2 days today. But anyway.
The question stands, though. I'm sorry to interrupt this one. We'll get back to your process in a minute. Do you think that these stories are good enough to do credit to the causes that they claim to represent, or are they pandering and taking?
I think Star Trek is liberal, and I know liberal's now a bad word for some reason because I don't know how that's happened
It
because
was a liberal. Let's just
people
put it
need to
this
look-
way: there's not too many people who disagree with the morality of, say, the next generation. It's this current 09 and forward
But no, I was just gonna say,
where
like,
we're over representing things in a lot of people's opinions.
it's always been political. And somebody will say as well, like, oh, no, 'cause now it's woke because it's not subtle. Because now Star Trek was also it's not subtle about it either. And it
Well,
would
it wasn't political in the sense that it was never torn from the headlines politics. When they do the Vietnam War, it is such a light-handed analogy that I would say that both the kid who's not going to go fight and has a sign that he's going to bring out tomorrow to the protest and the World War II veteran dad, because remember, TOS airs as much time has gone by since World War II to TOS as has gone by from Enterprise till now. So you got a 45 to 50-year-old father sitting there watching, a private little war. His son can enjoy it. The father can enjoy it. It's observational, not instructional. And at the end, it's like, it's not perfect or right. It's just the only solution that preserves both sides that we can come up with for now. And then this Star Trek, they're like, this is right. This is perfect. And you're the problem. And Alex Kurtzman has gone after fans more than once. I feel secure saying that.
Oh, no, Alex Kurtzman's a prick.
Okay, good.
Star Trek has always told you what is right and wrong, and what to think and what not to think. It always has. The whole principle of Star Trek is greed bad. You're supposed to be accepting of each other. It's all love and roses. That's Gene Roddenberry literally pitched it as, I want this to be the best version of humanity. So
right. They're also supposed to be slightly more evolved than us.
Well, it's what's right and wrong. It's telling you what to think. That's Star Trek has always done that from day one, and it was never so. A lot of it was about.
But think about how they did it, Tachyon Pulse. Think about this for a second.
No, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
But they did it. That's the point. They were always telling you. Some people have said, well, Star Trek now, it tells you what to think. No, Star Trek always told you what to think. So, I mean, if you're saying anything, you're looking at it through rose-colored, I always call it rose-colored testicles, spectacles.
Yeah, that's fine. You're, like I said, it's an American show from New York.
They used to do it better. And they do it better with characters. It was not subtle.
That didn't change week to week.
Yeah, and it was more, with the characters become more developed as well, though, because we had 24 weeks with these people that we got to know them rather than 10, where we don't really get enough development to care about what they then say.
There's 430 episodes of some kind of Star Trek when they do the Deep Space Nine musical, give or take. You know what I mean? Exactly what you're saying. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. So my problem is I think what they did before.
Gavin's got it. Your fellow Brit Gavin's got it. Star Trek taught him not to kill. Today.
Well, that's the same thing for like saying that Christianity taught us not to kill because I've read the Ten Commandments. It's not. It's not relevant. It's not. I don't understand the logic there. Just because you're a good doesn't mean you have to be a Christian or you have to learn not to kill from Star Trek. It is telling you what the writers think is right and wrong.
But here's the thing. But if you feel you've had enough time, if you want to continue, go ahead. Otherwise, I would rebut. Go ahead.
So let me make the point quickly then. What I think before they used to do with TNG and Braga and everything else was it was big science, a little fiction in a way. They would take something science or something in society where they wanted to talk about, and then they would build a story around it. Now what they seem to do is they seem to decide what genre or whatever it is they're going to do this week. Like what they did with the bloody zombie thing. Well, we're going to do a zombie episode this week, or we're going to do a musical this week. Because, okay, can we throw in some sort of social commentary? Yeah, we'll do that. Or, okay, can we try and tag some sort of science thing onto it for it to make sense? Yeah, okay. They do it the wrong way around. What they used to do was go, oh, this thing in science is really interesting. It's just come up. It's called a Dyson sphere. It's this new theory. It's brilliant. Let's build an episode around it. Great. Now they'll say, okay, we want to do an episode where we'll go and save a character from an old episode. How would we do it? Oh, I don't know. We'll just blah, 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 blah. Oh, there's some sort of Dyson sphere thing. Let's throw that in at the end. It's backwards, and they do this. with the social commentary or the liberal stuff. It's like they've got something they want to say in Braga's Trek, and they build an episode around it. Now they build an episode and then they sort of slap something on, and that's why I think it feels fake, or it feels sort of like
disingenuous and empty and pandering.
It is. Again, it's because it's done backwards.
All right.
Picard season 2. I think it was the 3rd episode. Raffi and Seven are walking through a car park, and they're talking about the Borg, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden they stop. They literally stop in the middle of the car park and go, "Race wars are bad," and then they carry on with the storyline. They literally just stop there and go, "Racism, isn't that terrible?" And then they carry on. And I'm like, what happened?
Well, I mean, when we have our puppet episode, you don't think that they're all going to turn into puppets, and at the end, someone will just say, "We were all just puppets, weren't we?" I don't think we should talk about it, and that'll be how the episode will end. That's typical of Alex Kurtzman. Nothing's ever explained, but
I don't know what to do with that. They're going to. It's such a half-assed excuse for the musical. God knows what they're going to come up with a puppet episode. But at what point?
The question still stands, though. Let me ask you this: when we talk about how they're better at this now, right? What would
they
stop?
Were better at
or
it.
I'm sorry, they were better at this in the past, and much better about it. Let me ask you something. Like, are we truly being political in a way that is going to register and be instructional when we have an episode like Court Martial and Commodore Stone is Kirk's boss and he's just black, but there's nothing else remarkable about him. He's a true military officer. He believes in the Federation rules of conduct, and he absolutely is disgusted by what he thinks Kirk did. He's a straight arrow. There's actually the only bad guy in that episode is Ben Finney, who's white. But that is so subtle and so in the background. It's just like it doesn't even really register on you. In today's modern Star Trek, we have a person walk into the room and they'd be like, "You're Captain Pike. You have 9 years to live before an accident will take your life. I'm like a fantastic and amazing, admiral, and I had it really tough because I'm a black admiral man, and everybody was mean to me when I was a black Starfleet ensign, and you know what? I had to work twice as hard as a damn Vulcan." Because, the Vulcan, he was straight, and I happen to be, gay. And you know what? Ever since I fully transitioned into a man, I can say to someone like you, "You're the problem." And it's just like, who wants to watch Tig Notaro fixing something looking like Keith Richards? Who wants any of this crap? And is it not overrepresentation? Is it not driving away your audience? And is it not just a healthy dose of cope for 7 years of fail at this point in year 8?
Well, no, I think what I just said.
They're pandering. They're pandering. Okay, so we're on the same page.
I think. Well, no, it is pandering, but I think it's that every so often they remember, "Oh, we're supposed to be Star Trek. We're supposed to do liberal stuff," and they stick it on. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like it's stuck on. Which way.
I think it's just a lack of talent that makes it seem tacked on. Their stories are just a bunch of.
I think it is. I agree with you. It's a lack of
weird
talent.
non-events.
Because
there are so many weird non-events in every episode.
They're doing it backwards, though. That's my point, isn't it? That every episode, bloody Akiva Goldsman has said this, that every episode we're going to twist genres and we're going to do something different with genres. And I'm like, why don't you actually just do sci-fi? And then when you've got a good core idea for an episode that you'll then build it off, you can then mess with things and go, because Star Trek's always done that as well. It's always sort of done little side.
Or entertain any of us for even 10 minutes in a Star Trek feeling kind of way. In that whole first 2 or 3 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, there's only one episode where they go to a planet. They go there to upgrade the cell tower. It's not even a strange new world of any kind. And they're not there to explore. They're there to upgrade a fucking cell phone tower. And that one was the closest thing to a decent episode. It had some DNA of Star Trek in it, but this aversion to going to planets, this aversion to doing anything that's fan fulfilled. Let me ask you this: true or false? Their modern audience doesn't exist because it's aged out. The time that they would have showed up has passed. 16 years is a long time. They don't exist.
No, it's a nonsense. As Christmas said, "Oh, Star Trek fans are dying." No, we're not. We're
dying for some entertainment.
Yeah,
we're dying for Star Trek.
I'm 47. I haven't got one foot in the grave yet. But my point is as well.
Well, you could start smoking.
He managed it. TNG managed a 30-year gap. between, not quite, was it 69 to
87.
87? So 20 something years. Oh, it's too late in the night for me to do maths. So you guys are going to have to cover me on that one. But it was a big gap. Anyway, my dad watched Star Trek. I watched Star Trek when it was already 20 years old, the original series. I then saw this TNG show, thought, oh, brilliant, what's that? And I was about 16 or something when it came out. Oh, it got to the UK anyway. It took about a year to get over here. But
Right.
But then it was good, so it built a new audience. So I wasn't alive. I was minus 9 years old when the original series came out. But it built a new audience. But his theory is, well, we've got to create Section 31, and we're not going to put any Star Trek in it because we want to attract a new audience. And
I think what happened was they had
keep
so
it back.
brand poisoned Star Trek with their own bad shows, failing left and right, that they were like, if you look at that Section 31 poster, it's just like Star Trek is like microscopic on it. Microscopic.
Watch Section 31 with the volume off, and you tell me at what point would you tell that was a Star Trek? Anything.
I think the worst part of Section 31 was at the very end when they played the Star Trek music after all that stupidity. I was like, oh, fuck you. I got pretty angry. Jerome fell asleep during the movie.
The tricorders, the original tricorder sound, but it looks like a big Apple phone. It's just like, what? So the worst of it is they have starships from the Terran Empire, from the Mirror Universe, but then they look nothing like anything we've ever seen in Star Trek before. The Empress ship is a big long thing, and I'm like, but they
It looks like stuff from It looks like stuff from Last Jedi. It looks like the Supremacy.
Yeah, it's a good point. Why isn't it a Federation starship? The ships we see later when they're coming to attack and the bin lorry goes to attack them, which again is so idiotic. They don't look like Federation starships. Why?
No.
They should.
They don't feel like paying any of the people who designed the original models even a dime for aesthetic reasons, I guess. There's not even any diegetic music or non-diegetic music in these fucking episodes unless they start singing themselves.
Half of the models are leftovers from other ideas. They're not Star Trek originals. The Empress's ship is from a whole different franchise.
Yeah, that looked like it was like a refugee from like Chronicles of Riddick or Near Dark, or even something like Alien. You could have added that little weird plasma thing that Lorca falls into, the guy from Death of Stalin. And did you ever just were you ever like glad enough for a storyline to end? It's like, oh, thank God. Thank God, this stupidity of this story is just over. And then they come back with another season even dumber. I was absolutely flabbergasted, and I think it was only in episode 2 when that shuttlecraft breaks up and a whole lot of people die and no one cares when they get to the Enterprise. I'm like, fuck this Star Trek show. And I mostly only kind of watched it out of morose curiosity and just kept getting worse and kept getting stupider and stupider. Where'd all that money go? You live in Europe. You know this. They were told for an entire year that Netflix was never going to do business with them again. The arbitration was binding. They weren't going to change their minds. And so what happens? They keep reoffering it back to Netflix at a lower and lower price, trying to get Netflix to take their show. And Netflix, not only do they not take their show, but they just drop it from their schedule unannounced because the Star Trek people's job is to say where you can see Star Trek. So everyone in Europe wakes up one day to no Star Trek on Netflix at all, and then they lost the contract for the other Star Trek for a little while, and you had to go watch it on some weird affiliate channel over there. I'm not sure what it was, but they didn't tell you that, and it was a done deal when Netflix got forced to say it. So this is who you're dealing with here. Do you really think they could write an open and honest political story machinating like that to their own fans? And how do you think that? What do you think that says about their attitude towards fans?
I think they think we're annoying. I genuinely
Shut up and give us your money.
Kurtzman New Trek think the fans are annoying. And I think he thinks we're really irritating when we point out that something he's written is stupid. And that's why they keep retconning things and they keep they make a mistake and then they keep trying to fix it in another episode. Go, oh, well, we didn't really make a mistake. We did this because all the fans go, whoa, that's not right.
And then they'll go back and retroactively cut a few scenes from that episode too, because if you go back and watch Ghosts of Illyria, where she rescues that guy with the fireman's carry and punches down the wall, that's gone now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. They do that.
And they changed the end of Picard. They didn't change they didn't change the circumstance, but they changed the aesthetic. They added more runabouts and other ships fighting. I just want to say, I actually
on the inquiry classes as well. If you watch Picard season 1 now, towards the end, they had a load of CGI problems on the ships. They fixed them.
Yeah, they had to go back and fix that. It was a disgrace, the cut and paste fleet. Real quick, one person who was very accessible in New York all through the 80s and 90s was Ann Magnuson, if you know who I'm talking about. Are you familiar with the actress?
Oh, remind me. I do know the name.
She is associated with a three-word line. Sheer fucking hubris. And Ann Magnuson was in Clear and Present Danger. She was in Making Mr. Right. She was in Small Soldiers and several other movies, including Cabin Boy, all throughout the 90s. She was pretty big, but she's an East Coast person. She made it as a New York performance artist when that used to be a thing. And she made it into Hollywood because she was beautiful and she had some talent. And when the final episode of Picard Season 1 aired, she went on Facebook and posted about a 800 word condemnation saying, 1, she'll never work for them again. 2, use the meme, but I denounce what they made me do. 3, I would have walked out of there if they didn't tell me that I had a redemptive arc film for myself. 3, I don't know what they did with what they said they were filming when they did my redemptive arc, because they swapped that out for something with Jonathan Frakes that was completely different. And now I wonder if they weren't punking me the whole time. So I'm never going to work for them again. And it's no kind of Star Trek. And to prove her point, she posted a picture from the 60s when she was like 15, dressed as a female red shirt. A picture from the 70s when she was like 26, looking really, really smoking hot, dressed as the Canuto woman from TOS. A picture from the 80s dressed as as Crusher. A picture from the 90s in like a TNG movie uniform. And she was like, I only did this for Star Trek and I didn't even take like top pay. What would you say about people who would do something like that to a Star Trek fan? And remember, she's coming off The Man in the High Castle. She was a desirable actress at that point. To do that to her, they're busting up people's careers. What do you see in the future for Alex Kurtzman? Career-wise.
Those questions jumped all over the place then, T. For fuck's sake, mate. Right. So, first of all, I've spoken to somebody that used to write for Star Trek. And when I was speaking to them, they basically said, I wasn't allowed to use their name because I still hope to get a job in the future. But they basically said they haven't done Star Trek for years, and they said they have shouting arguments in the writers' room regularly over some of the story plots and things. And Kurtzman,
well, you could see they had a few people from TNG and stuff hanging around. Like Manny Koto is on TNG episodes. He must have been like, "Hey, come on!"
Yeah, but actually, generally yelling this doesn't make any bloody sense in a writers' room is just. I mean, you get impassioned, but he was saying that this person was saying
dysfunctionally impassioned.
Professionally like this before. It just because we
sort of like a college writing room for a group project.
But this guy said I was a Star Trek fan, and I'm working out. This was like my dream project for me, and this just didn't make any bloody sense. I was just really frustrated. Alex Kurtzman's future. I think he has damaged his brand. I think he's desperately trying to hold on to something with Paramount because he knows he can't. He's really going to struggle otherwise. And the biggest problem is the biggest problem I've always been told the Skydance have with Kurtzman is that he makes really bad business decisions, and so that pisses them off more than the creative decisions.
What do you mean, like the way he could make a terrible show that if it didn't cost a fortune, they could forget about it?
Well, things like Section 31. Everything pointed to Section 31 being a bad idea. And Paramount tried to get Michelle Yeoh to because they had a contract with Michelle Yeoh to do Section 31, initially a series, then a mini-series, and they offered Michelle Yeoh to get out of it. That's not a rumor. That was That was Michelle.
That was reported, right? And
Yeah.
we know her salary was $12 million, and she was there for like 2 days.
Yeah, well, it's a bit more than 2 days, but yes, I know what you mean.
A week.
Yeah. Kurtzman wasn't willing to just cut bait.
When it was being filmed, she was there for almost none of it.
Right.
A lot of the time you see her in the movie, it's the back of her head, it's not her.
Right.
You know, and then then she came in, filmed all the bits with her at the front, and that's another reason why it feels quite disjointed. But anyway, everybody was saying this is a bad idea. We've gone from a script of a season to 4 episodes, and now we've said basically, okay, we've got 2 months to do a movie that's got to be 90 minutes. And everybody was telling Alex Kurtzman, just don't do it. This is not going to work. But Alex Kurtzman went, I want to work with Michelle Yeoh. And he was the one that pushed it. And then it just became a nightmare. But then basically said...
She got that Academy Award, and they put her movie partner from that movie in it, right? Jamie Lee Curtis is in that movie with her, so of course...
Well, Kurtzman was desperate to do it. I want to work with, Oscar-winning Michelle Yeoh. And they thought it was going to be a big coup. It's only a big coup that works if it's good.
The one rumor that proved to be true was he is that delusional. That he is delusional. He was delusional enough to believe that Section 31 would save him. I'm still not sure that the story about how he tried to get out of it by cashing in all at once with intentionally bad Star Trek isn't possibly true. Or that he didn't try tacking that way when he realized I'm in over my head. I'm a Xena Warrior Princess director. I don't have any fucking talent.
I think it would be insane if that's what he's doing. But...
if they're the only people who can buy it and you can extort, just you know what? We'll give everyone a chance to pitch their shows and we'll say goodnight after this. But I would say this: when you're down to your last moment in Hollywood and you know that this is your last time at that buffet table, you're going to fill your plate up with everything you can. So I think what Kurtzman is doing is, since they have to buy it, he's setting a price that is really exorbitant, and we're hearing how it's an expensive show. We've always heard it's an expensive show. It's never showed up on screen. Which, you know what? If we had that kind of money, we would be open. If we lost that kind of money, people would be saying, well, Teague just gave the money to Tachyon Pulse to write the episode. Tachyon Pulse had the AI write it and gave half the money back to Teague, and it's kickbacks, and that's why they have 23 producers. But we would never say anything like that.
Do you know how much 2 seasons of Starfleet Academies cost?
$195 million. How much? $300 million.
No, not quite. About 220.
Whoa! So as much as it sucked too, but Captain Falcon had some spectacle and a lot of special effects most of the movie.
Yeah. Well, the setup, in theory, the first season has cost about $180 million to produce. The second season has cost 60 to 70, but they'll spread that over both seasons.
They don't have a lot of money, and also in this country, it's known that there were some left-wing political figures in a couple of the episodes, and that they were hitting the left-wing political donor class for their funding money, because the deal with Kurtzman is this: he doesn't get money to make it. He has to find a way to fund it, and then they get to buy it. So he was making it cheap and bad. I think as we wrap up, my feeling is this: he's making it as bad as he can because it's his last trip to the candy store. No one's hiring him again because of his behavior during that other strike. It's become very pertinent now. And, he is going to pay the price for being uncreative in Hollywood, which means, he's done nothing for them lately. Hawaii Five-0 with 3 other writers was a long time ago, and that wasn't so great either. His level is Xena Warrior Princess, and I think that what he's doing is, he knows that if he asked them for 5 times what he should get, if it's so bad that they can't let someone else get it, it's just every episode's an Andromeda strain of horrible. Because you couldn't do worse than what he's doing. To go after the franchise.
Just with the finance thing, I'm not quite sure what you mean, because the deal...
He has to raise the money to pay for the episode to be made. They don't have to pay for it. He comes to them with a finished product, and they can buy it or not. Is the story we've heard? That's basically.
It's not that he doesn't have to generate money. The deal was for, I forget how many, a couple $100 million.
Well, Netflix had the money part of it. Most of it was going to be paid for by Netflix, and CBS was going to get movie quality TV, and the money disappears and they get this. So that's also a real issue. We can look at that and say this does not look like it's worth. Even in season 2, when their sets are paid for, it's not looking great, and then it really just looks terrible in season 3. And Strange New Worlds never really looked too good. But hey,
Production value is the only thing they do well. Personally.
Tachyon Pulse's link is in the description for this. We've also thrown it in the chat a couple of times. Tachyon, what are you working on, buddy?
Oh, all sorts of moments. I've literally, because I had to stay up for this, I've recorded tomorrow's video while I was waiting for you guys.
Fantastic.
Mate, it was 2 hours ago now. I can't remember what the bloody hell I talked about. So long ago. But yeah, it's a couple of Star Trek things. A couple of I've managed to piss off J. Michael Straczynski that did created Babylon 5 again, so I'll talk about that in a day or two.
Yeah, Tuesday's guest was friends with. Yeah, but what's funny is Tuesday's guest managed to please Straczynski, and Straczynski put his video up on his pinned it to the top of his axe.
Was it very nice about J. Michael Straczynski? I haven't even said anything negative. I actually, in my video, I'm saying apparently Warner Brothers are thinking about doing Babylon 5, and they're even going as far as apparently looking for maybe trying to find a showrunner at the moment to do a remake, but not with J. Michael Straczynski. And in my video, I say if they do, they're effing insane because it won't work. It'll
Mike can probably advise, but isn't he 81 or something?
Yeah, and now he lives in Britain as well. So
there's technology involve him, but yeah, he's not going to be there yelling cut.
Be a right to produce everything you have to be on set, though. So I mean, he'd have to move back to and unless they film it in Britain, they could film it in Britain.
Season Dolan with the best comment of the night. Cuxman's Star Trek can be explained in 2 words: money laundering, just like Disney Star Wars. You're going to hear that around here. A lot of people believe that here.
The whole studio Hollywood industry is a money laundering exercise. They spend more money on accountants than any other industry in America.
Truer words. Germ, what's going on your channel this week?
Well, we'll do Landman on Sunday and then back to our regular schedule next week with Critters 3 on Monday.
All right. Cool. Guys, check out Tachyon Pulse. He's got you're up to 6,000 subs. And then next time we talk, we can talk about how you manage to get the urgency out there. Guys, turn on the notification bell. Admiral Teague needs your help. Tachyon, thanks. It's been a long road, as they say in Enterprise. Yeah. But we can reach any star. Maybe you'll come back and we can talk about how you, your methods without getting too specific, because I'm sure everyone would like to know. And thank you for being such a good sport and coming on the show and being so open and such a great guest. We really appreciated it, and we will see all of you guys later. You know what? We have a special surprise for our guests and for all the people who watch the show. And of course, Saving Star Trek is funded by the genius of Gene Roddenberry, the ideas of the Tachyon Pulse, and by the generosity of viewers like J.T. Kirk, The Apprentice, Sean Carter, and Ruby Hoove. Thank you so much for your generosity. I appreciate you so much. And there'll be a Star Trek video coming down the pike on the progress that Star Trek United has made. Last word, yes or no? You think it's going to happen, Star Trek United?
Probably not.
Star Trek movie in 2026?
No.
27?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. All right. Okay. Hey, we have a little gift for our audience on the way out. I think you'll like it too. You know what? You probably have heard of her. You probably know of her. She's pretty hot. Her name's Sydney Sweeney. And you know what? We have to play this special PSA to get everyone ready.
Incoming Sydney Sweeney video. Set burners to full. Lubrication supply sufficient for projected fapping level. Paper towels to standby. Turbo lift door secured and locked. Wives and girlfriend interruption probability at 12%. You may commence masturbatory actions at any time.
Can I finish? We love you all.